The emergency bay doors hissed open with a sound that made my antennae flatten against my skull. I hate that sound. 12 cycles as head physician at Galactic Medical Station 7, and I still hate that sound. It means something has gone catastrophically wrong somewhere in the void, and now it is my problem. Dr. Vren. Nurse Kella skittered across the polished floor, her 6 legs moving in that frantic pattern that meant bad news. Real bad news. We have an incoming critical case. Species classification human. Massive trauma. ETA 4 minutes. I felt my primary stomach clench. Humans. Of course it had to be humans. Prep Trauma Suite 3, I said, already moving toward the bay. Full xenobiology protocols. Get Thorpe down here. If we are dealing with human physiology again, I want our best xenobiologist on standby. Kella nodded, her compound eyes reflecting the harsh overhead lights. Already called him. He is, and I quote, not happy about it. Nobody is ever happy about humans, I muttered, checking my diagnostic scanner. They are biologically absurd. Their healing factor is terrifying. Their pain tolerance makes no sense. And do not even get me started on their adrenal response. The last time we had a human patient, he had woken up during surgery. He had looked at me, looked at his open chest cavity, said something about having seen worse at a place called Thanksgiving dinner, and then passed out again. I had nightmares for weeks. The transport shuttle came in fast, too fast, scraping against the docking clamps with a screech that probably violated 16 safety regulations. The hatch blew open before the pressure had fully equalized, and 2 Crixian medics came stumbling out, carrying a stretcher between them. On the stretcher was a human male, and he was a mess. Talk to me. I snapped, my scanner already running preliminary readings. What happened? The first Crixian, a young female with bright green carapace, was breathing hard. Mining accident on Epsilon Trade Station. Structural collapse. He was trapped under a support beam for 3 hours before we could extract him. 3 hours. I looked at the readings coming through. Crushed ribs. Collapsed lung. Internal bleeding. Compound fracture in the left leg. Second-degree burns across 40% of his body. And yet, impossibly, his heart was still beating. Strong and steady. How is he still alive? I asked, not really expecting an answer. Humans never made sense. We do not know, the second medic said, his voice shaking. We gave him enough sedative to drop a Thorian battle beast. He just kept talking, asking about his crew, making jokes. Jokes. We had to give him 3 more doses just to get him to stop moving. I checked the sedative levels in his bloodstream. My antennae shot straight up. You gave him what? I practically shouted. This amount would put a small ship into a coma. How is his neural activity still this high? The human's eyes fluttered open. They were blue, bright, startling blue. He looked directly at me, and despite everything that had to be causing him agony, he smiled. Hey, Doc, he said, his voice rough but clear. You got 6 eyes. That is wild. You seeing everything in like supervision or what? I stared at him. Kella stared at him. The Crixian medics took several steps back. You should be unconscious, I said flatly. Yeah, people keep telling me that. He coughed, and I saw blood on his lips. Not good. But I got things to do, you know. My crew, they make it out okay? Your crew is fine, Kella said quickly, moving to his side with a fresh sedative injector. They are in observation. Minor injuries only. You need to rest now. Rest is for the dead, sweetheart. He tried to sit up, actually tried to sit up with a collapsed lung and crushed ribs. I need to call my sister. She is expecting me to check in, and if I do not, she will lose her mind. You do not want my sister losing her mind. She once punched a guy through a wall. A wall. I pushed him back down, which was harder than it should have been given his condition. You are going nowhere. You are going into surgery. Immediately. Surgery? He laughed. The madman actually laughed. "Doc, I have had worse. One time, back on Earth, I fell off a building, 3 stories, landed on a trash compactor, walked it off." "You did not walk it off," I said, exasperated. "That is physiologically impossible." "You calling me a liar?" But he was still smiling, even as Kella administered another dose of sedative. Because I got witnesses. My buddy Frank saw the whole thing. The sedative hit his system. I watched his neural activity on the scanner. It dipped, slightly, barely, then stabilized at a level that was still far too high. "This is not normal," Thorpe said, appearing at my shoulder. The Velkari xenobiologist looked at the readings and made a sound like grinding gears. "This makes no sense. His body should be shutting down non-essential functions. Instead, it appears to be ramping up. Look at his adrenal output." I looked. I regretted looking. That cannot be right. That level of adrenaline should cause cardiac arrest. "Should" being the operative word, Thorpe said grimly. "Humans do not follow the rules. They are biological anarchists." The human, Jake Rennick, according to his ID chip, was still awake, still watching us. "You guys talking about me?" "I can hear you. Just so you know." "How are you still conscious?" I demanded, abandoning all pretense of professional calm. "You have enough sedative in your system to tranquilize a megaron whale. You should be comatose." Jake shrugged. One shoulder. The one that was not broken. "I got a high tolerance. My mom says I was a difficult baby. It took forever to go down for naps. Guess some things never change." Kella looked at me with all 6 of her eyes wide. "What do we do?" What did we do? This was beyond my training. Beyond anyone's training, probably. Humans were not supposed to be awake during this level of trauma. They were supposed to have the decency to pass out so we could fix them without commentary. We operate anyway, I decided. Prep him. Whole trauma protocols. And someone find me a sedative strong enough to actually work on whatever nightmare fuel humans call a metabolism. "Good luck with that," Jake said cheerfully. "But hey, if it helps, I promise to try real hard to pass out. Scout's honor." "What is a scout?" I asked tiredly. "Long story. Involves camping and badges, and one time I set my tent on fire trying to cook marshmallows." He paused. "Actually, maybe I should pass out. This is starting to hurt. Like a lot. More than the building thing. Is that bad?" "Yes," I, Kella, and Thorpe all shouted at once. Jake blinked. Okay, no need to yell. I am injured here. Show some compassion." I wanted to throw my scanner at the wall. Instead, I took a deep breath through my respiratory slits and turned to my team. "Get him to surgery. Now. Before he decides to get up and walk there himself." "I probably could," Jake offered helpfully. "If you need me to." "Do not," I said firmly. "Do not even think about it." Kella, maximum restraints. I do not care if it is overkill. "On it," Kella said, already deploying the surgical bed's containment field. As we rushed Jake toward the trauma suite, he kept talking. Of course he kept talking. "So this station is nice. Real nice. You guys got a cafeteria? I am starving." Which is weird, right? Given the whole crushed organs thing? But I could really go for a burger. You know what a burger is? It is this earth thing. Meat, bread, some vegetables. Simple but perfect. "You are not getting a burger," I said, watching Thorpe prep the surgical field. "You are getting emergency thoracic reconstruction and possible organ replacement. Can I get a burger after? If you survive, you can have whatever you want." "Cool. I am going to hold you to that, Doc." 6 eyes means you are 6 times as trustworthy, right? That is just math. It was not math. That was not how any of this worked. But I did not have time to argue because we were in the surgical suite now, and the real work was about to begin. I looked at the scans. The damage was extensive, catastrophic even. By all standard medical logic, Jake Rennick should have died under that beam. Should have died on the transport. Should have died in our bay. Should absolutely be dying right now. But his heart kept beating. His brain kept firing, and his mouth kept moving. "You know what I was thinking about when I was under that beam?" Jake asked, as Thorpe began setting up the autosurgeon. "I was thinking about my nephew's birthday. It is next week. Kid is turning 7. 7. Can you believe that? Feels like yesterday he was born. I got him this remote control spaceship, real detailed. He is going to love it." "That is nice," Kella said softly, adjusting his IV lines. "I am sure he will." Yeah, he will." Jake's voice was getting quieter now. Finally, the sedatives were starting to work. Or maybe it was the pain catching up with him. "I gotta be there for it," I promised. I always keep my promises. And there it was. The reason. The thing keeping him conscious when he should not be. Not the sedatives failing. Not some biological absurdity. Just a promise to a 7-year-old boy. I looked at Thorpe. He looked back at me. We both knew what we had to do. "We will get you there," I said, meaning it. "To your nephew's birthday, we will fix you up, and you will be there." Jake smiled, his eyes finally starting to close. "Thanks, Doc. You are pretty cool. For an alien. No offense. None taken. Now go to sleep." "Yeah, okay. But just so you know, he was fading fast now, words slurring together. "If you mess this up, my sister really will punch you through a wall. She does not play around." Then he was out. Finally, blessedly, completely unconscious. I looked at his vital signs. Still impossibly strong. His body was already starting to heal itself. Already beginning the process of knitting bone and tissue back together even before we started working. "Humans," Thorpe muttered, calibrating the surgical laser. "They are absolutely insane." "Yes," I agreed. "But we are going to save this one, prep the organ regenerator. I want full structural repair before we close. And someone get me his personnel file. I want to know everything about this Jake Rennick." Kella brought up the file on the main display. I scanned it while my hands moved on autopilot, years of training taking over. Jake Rennick, age 32. Mining engineer. Originally from Earth, North American continent. No significant medical history, which was shocking given what I was reading. Multiple accident reports. Numerous close calls. But always walking away. Always surviving. But it was the personal section that caught my attention. Next of kin, Emma Rennick, sister. And a note, emergency contact has requested to be notified of any medical incidents immediately. He is known to become, quote, aggressively protective, end quote. I remembered his warning about the wall punching. Maybe it was not a joke. Kella, send a message to his sister. Let her know he is in surgery but stable. And maybe alert station security to be ready. Just in case. In case of what? In case she shows up and decides to punch someone through a wall. Kella's antennae twitched in amusement. You think she would actually do that? I looked at Jake's unconscious form, at the impossible readings, at the sheer stubborn will to live that had kept him going. She is his sister. If she is anything like him, I would not put it past her. The surgery took 6 hours. 6 long, complicated, occasionally terrifying hours. But every time I thought we had stabilized one system, another would throw an alert. His body was fighting us and healing itself simultaneously, which made everything 10 times harder than it needed to be. But we did it. We pieced him back together, regenerated the damaged organs, set the bones, repaired the burns. By the end, I was exhausted, my manipulator tentacles aching, but Jake Rennick's vital signs were strong and steady. He is going to make it, Thorpe said, sounding almost surprised. Against all logic and reason, he is actually going to make it. Never doubt human stubbornness, I said, pulling off my surgical gloves. It is apparently their greatest evolutionary advantage. Kella was checking the post-operative readings. Neural activity is normal. Well, normal for a human. Healing factor is already engaged. At this rate, he will be conscious within the hour. An hour? I stared at her. Standard recovery time should be at least 12 hours. She just pointed at the scanner. The numbers did not lie. Jake Rennick was already waking up. I went to get coffee. Or the nearest alien equivalent. I had a feeling I was going to need it. True to Kella's prediction, 53 minutes later, Jake opened his eyes. He looked around the recovery room, taking in the monitors and equipment, and then focused on me. "Did I make it?" he asked, his voice hoarse but clear. "You made it," I confirmed. "Against all odds, you survived." "Nice." He tried to sit up. I pushed him back down. "Hey, Doc, question. How long until I can get out of here? Because I got that birthday party in 6 days, and I need time to get a ride back to Earth." "You just had major surgery," I said slowly, carefully, because clearly he had sustained some brain damage I had missed. "You are not going anywhere for at least 3 weeks." 3 weeks? "Doc, no, I got a promise to keep. You almost died, but I did not. So when can I leave?" I looked at Thorpe. He shrugged helplessly. I looked at Kella. She made a gesture that roughly translated to, "This is your problem now." "We will discuss it later," I said firmly. "After you have rested. And eaten. And maybe regained some basic survival instinct. Is that when I get my burger?" I had forgotten about the burger. Somehow, through 6 hours of intensive surgery and a near-death experience, Jake Rennick had remembered the burger. "Yes," I said, defeated. "You can have a burger. Awesome. You are the best, Doc. Best six-eyed alien doctor I have ever had. I am the only six-eyed alien doctor you have ever had. But that is probably true. But you are still the best. Despite everything, despite my exhaustion and frustration and the sheer impossibility of the last several hours, I found myself almost smiling. Humans. They were infuriating, illogical, biologically absurd, and yet there was something about their sheer determination, their refusal to quit, that was almost admirable. Almost. "Get some rest, Jake Rennick," I said, adjusting his monitors. "We will figure out how to get you to that birthday party." "Really?" He looked genuinely surprised. "You mean it?" "I mean it. You kept your body alive through sheer willpower to keep a promise to a child. The least I can do is help you keep it." His smile was bright enough to light up the entire recovery ward. "Thanks, Doc. You are awesome." I left him to rest, though I suspected rest was a relative term for humans. As I walked back to my office, I started composing a message to the station commander. We were going to need to arrange transport, fast transport. Because somehow, against all logic and reason, I had just promised to help a human keep a promise. My console beeped. Incoming message from Emma Rennick. I opened it with some trepidation. "Dr. Vren," the message began. "I received your notification about my brother. I am currently arranging transport to your station. I will be there in 2 days. If anything happens to him before I arrive, I will hold you personally responsible. And for your information, I have never actually punched anyone through a wall. I kicked them through a wall. Important distinction. See you soon." I stared at the message. Then I looked at the wall of my office. It was solid durasteel, reinforced, supposedly indestructible. Supposedly. "Thorpe," I called over the intercom. "We might have a situation." "Another one." "The human sister is coming." There was a long pause. "I will alert security." "Good thinking." I pulled up Jake's file again, looking at his recovery projections. By all standard medical metrics, he should be bed-bound for weeks. But this was a human. This was Jake Rennick, who had survived 3 hours under a collapsed beam because he had a birthday party to attend. Standard metrics did not apply. I had a feeling the next few days were going to be very, very interesting. And I was right. Day 1 of Jake Rennick's recovery, he asked for a burger, a phone, and to be discharged. I denied all 3 requests. He called me unreasonable. I called him delusional. We were becoming fast friends. Day 2 of Jake Rennick's recovery, he was sitting up in bed, doing physical therapy exercises that should have been impossible for someone who had been crushed like a tin can 48 hours prior. Kella caught him trying to stand. He claimed he was just stretching. The floor burns on his feet suggested otherwise. You are supposed to be resting, I said, checking his vitals for the 100th time. Still impossibly strong. His healing factor was operating at speeds that made our medical textbooks look like works of fiction. I am resting, Jake protested. Resting my upper body while I exercise my lower body. It is called multitasking, Doc. It is called stupidity. Potato, potato. He grinned at me, that infuriating human grin that suggested he knew exactly how frustrating he was being and enjoyed it. Come on, Doc. Look at these readings. I am fine. Better than fine. I feel great. You had a collapsed lung 2 days ago. And now I have 2 working lungs. See? And progress. I wanted to sedate him again. Heavily. It was for maybe a week. But before I could reach for the injector, the bay doors opened and Thorpe rushed in, his faceplates flushed with agitation. Vren, we have a problem. A big problem. What now? I asked. Already tired. Did another human fall on something? Worse. There is a human female at the main airlock demanding to see her brother. She has already threatened 3 security guards, frightened a Crixian diplomat into hiding, and I quote, "Will tear this station apart with her bare hands if someone does not take her to Jake Rennick immediately." Jake's face lit up. Emma. Emma is here. Oh man, you guys are going to love her. She is the best. She threatened to tear apart my station, I said flatly. Yeah, she does that. It is how she shows she cares. That is not caring. That is terrorism. You say terrorism, I say passionate concern. Let her in, Doc. Please? She is probably worried sick. I looked at Thorpe. He looked back at me with an expression that clearly said, "This is your decision and I want no part of it." Fine, I said, against every instinct screaming at me to refuse. But if she punches anyone through anything, I am holding you responsible. She won't punch anyone, Jake assured me. Probably. Unless they deserve it. Which honestly some people do. That is not reassuring. 10 minutes later, Emma Rennick stormed into the recovery ward like a natural disaster given human form. She was tall, nearly 6 feet by human measurements, with the same bright blue eyes as her brother and an expression that could melt Durasteel. She took one look at Jake, saw the monitors and medical equipment, and her face cycled through relief, anger, and determination in the span of 3 seconds. "You absolute idiot," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "You promised Mom you would stop doing dangerous jobs." "Lining is not that dangerous," Jake said weakly. "You were crushed under a building. Technically, it was a support beam." Jake. Jake! I cleared my throat. Both humans looked at me. Emma's eyes narrowed. "You must be Dr. Vren, the one who saved my brother's life." "I am," I confirmed cautiously. She crossed the room in 3 strides and grabbed my manipulator tentacle in what humans called a handshake. Her grip was firm. Painfully firm. I was fairly certain she could actually punch someone through a wall if properly motivated. "Thank you," she said, and her voice was sincere. Seriously. "Thank you. I know my brother is probably being the worst patient in the history of medicine, but thank you for saving him." "You are welcome," I managed, extracting my tentacle before she crushed it. Though I must point out he saved himself. I merely facilitated the process. "He is too stubborn to die," Emma said, turning back to her brother. "Always has been. Remember when you fell off the garage roof and broke your arm in 3 places? I was 7. You still tried to finish building the treehouse with a broken arm. Mom had to physically restrain you. Jake had the grace to look sheepish. Well, I had already started. Seemed wasteful to stop. You are insane. Genetically, I got it from you. Emma laughed, and the sound was so warm, so full of genuine affection, that I felt something in my primary chest cavity tighten. These humans. These impossible, stubborn, ridiculous humans. They faced death and laughed at it. They made promises and kept them. They loved each other with a fierce intensity that made our carefully calculated Valkyrie emotional bonds seem pale in comparison. So, Emma said, turning back to me, what is the prognosis? When can he travel? Travel? I repeated. He is not traveling anywhere for at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Emma's expression hardened. That is not going to work. Tommy's birthday is in 5 days. I am aware. Your brother has mentioned it approximately 47 times since he regained consciousness. Then you understand why he needs to be cleared for travel. What I understand is that he needs to heal. What I understand is that rushing his recovery could result in complications. What I understand is that no birthday party is worth risking his life. With respect, Dr. Vren, you do not understand. Emma's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Tommy is our nephew. Our sister's kid. Our sister who died 2 years ago in a transport accident. Jake and I are all Tommy has left, and Jake promised him. Promised him on his mother's grave that he would be there for his 7th birthday. So yes, this birthday party is worth everything. The recovery ward went silent. Even the monitors seemed to quiet their beeping. I looked at Jake. He was not smiling anymore. His face was set in lines of determination and grief and love all mixed together. She died on her way to my station, he said quietly. I was working here on Epsilon. She was coming to visit. To surprise me, the transport hit a debris field. By the time I got to her, she was gone. But she was still conscious, for a few minutes. And she asked me to take care of Tommy, to be there for him, to never miss the important things. Jake, I said, my voice softer than I intended. I am sorry. I did not know. How could you? He tried to smile and almost managed it. But now you do. Now you understand why I have to be there, why I would crawl through broken glass if I had to. It is not just a birthday party, Doc. It is a promise. It is all I have left of her. I have practiced medicine for 12 cycles. I have seen countless species, treated thousands of patients, made difficult decisions based on medical necessity and logical outcomes. But in that moment, looking at Jake Rennick and his sister, I understood that sometimes logic is not enough. Sometimes medicine is not just about healing bodies. It is about healing hearts. Kella, I called. Get me a full metabolic scan and contact transport services. I want to know the fastest route to Earth. Jake's eyes widened. Doc, are you serious? I am clinically insane, apparently, I said. But yes, we are going to get you to that birthday party. Under one condition. Anything. Anything. I am coming with you, as your personal physician. If anything goes wrong, if you show any signs of complications, we turn around immediately. Agreed? Agreed. Jake was practically bouncing in his bed. Emma was smiling. Kella looked horrified. Dr. Vren, she said quietly. Are you certain about this? The medical board will not approve. Then we will not tell them until after, I said. Sometimes, Nurse Kella, the right medical decision is not the one in the textbooks. Thorpe appeared in the doorway. I heard shouting, then silence, and now I am concerned. What is happening? We are taking a human to Earth, I said, or for a birthday party. Of course we are, Thorpe muttered, because a normal day at this station would be too much to ask. I am coming too. You do not have to. Someone needs to keep you from getting killed by human enthusiasm. Plus, I have never been to Earth. I hear the gravity is terrifying. It is, Emma confirmed cheerfully. You will love it. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. I ran every test imaginable on Jake. His healing factor was nothing short of miraculous. Bones that should have taken weeks to knit were already solid. Organs that had been damaged were functioning at full capacity. His body was rebuilding itself at a cellular level that defied everything I knew about biology. How is this possible? I asked Thorpe as we reviewed the scans. This speed of recovery. It should not exist. Humans evolved on a death world, Thorpe said, pulling up comparative data. Earth. Gravity 1.0. Atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. Predators at every level of the food chain. Diseases. Natural disasters. Their bodies adapted to survive conditions that would kill most of the galaxy. This healing factor is not an aberration. It is a necessity. They are built to survive. They are built to thrive in conditions designed to kill them. It is terrifying and impressive in equal measure. Emma spent most of her time with Jake, the two of them talking and laughing and occasionally arguing in that way siblings do. I learned more about humans in those 3 days than I had in my entire career. They were loud, emotional, contradictory. They cried and laughed sometimes in the same breath. They hugged constantly, this strange physical contact that seemed to comfort them. And they ate. Oh, how they ate! Emma brought food from the station cafeteria. Jake complained it was not as good as Earth food. They argued about something called pizza toppings with a passion usually reserved for religious debates. Pineapple does not belong on pizza, Jake insisted. You are objectively wrong and I will die on this hill. Emma shot back. I had no idea what pineapple or pizza were, but I made a note to never, ever bring them up again. On the morning of day 4, I cleared Jake for travel, against my better judgment, against all medical protocols. But looking at his scans, at his recovery rate, at the sheer determination in his eyes, I knew he would go with or without my approval. As, at least this way I could monitor him. We boarded a fast transport, one of the newer models capable of making the run to Earth in 36 hours. The pilot, a Thorian named Breck, looked at our passenger manifest and groaned. Humans, he said. Why is it always humans? They grow on you, I said, strapping into my seat, like a persistent fungal infection. Jake laughed from his medical stretcher. Heard that, Doc. And for the record, I am a delightful fungal infection. The kind that makes everything more interesting. That is not how infections work. You say that now. Wait until we get to Earth. I am going to show you the best burger place in New Seattle. It will change your life. I do not eat meat. They have veggie options. Emma rolled her eyes. Jake, stop harassing the doctor. He saved your life. Show some gratitude. I am showing gratitude. I am offering to share my favorite food with him. That is the highest honor a human can bestow. The journey to Earth was surprisingly pleasant once I accepted that peace and quiet were not going to happen. Jake was a font of endless stories. Emma matched him tale for tale. Thorpe took copious notes, fascinated by human culture. Even Breck warmed up to them, eventually joining in their discussions about something called football, which as far as I could tell involved hitting each other repeatedly while chasing a ball. It is about strategy, Jake explained, and teamwork, and occasionally just running really fast and hoping nobody tackles you. This sounds like a terrible game, I said. It is the best game, Emma corrected. Jake played in high school. He was actually pretty good. I was excellent, Jake said modestly, until I broke my collarbone. Then I was temporarily less excellent. You played the next week anyway. It was regionals. I was starting to see a pattern. Jake Rennick did not understand the concept of limitations. He never had. Probably never would. It was simultaneously his greatest strength and most terrifying weakness. As we approached Earth, I felt my respiratory slits constrict. The planet was beautiful. Blue and green and white, swirling with clouds and ocean and life. So much life. It radiated from the planet like heat from a star. Jake said softly, looking at the view screen. I know it is not much compared to some of the core worlds, but it is ours. It is perfect, I said, and meant it. Landing procedures took 2 hours. Earth had strict quarantine protocols, which I appreciated. At least someone here understood proper medical procedure. We cleared customs, passed through biosecurity, and stepped out into New Seattle Spaceport. The gravity hit me like a physical blow. 1.0. I had trained for this, but training and experiencing were two different things. My legs trembled. My breathing quickened. "You good, Doc?" Jake asked, and I realized he was standing. Actually standing. No stretcher, no support. Just standing there like he had not been crushed under a building less than a week ago. "How are you doing that?" I gasped. "Doing what? Standing?" "Doc, I have been standing since day 3. You just kept making me lie down. You said you were resting." I was resting. Between standing sessions. Emma laughed. "Welcome to Earth, Dr. Vren. Population. Stubborn." A wheeled vehicle pulled up. Emma called it a car. We loaded in, Thorpe and I moving carefully in the heavy gravity. Jake moved like nothing had happened, like he had not been at death's door, like this was just another day. "Tommy's place is an hour away," Emma said, navigating through traffic that seemed designed to cause cardiac incidents. "We are cutting it close. Party starts in 2 hours." "We will make it," Jake said confidently. We did not come this far to be late. The landscape rolling past was alien and familiar at once. Buildings, roads, trees, the same elements as countless other worlds, but arranged in a way that was uniquely human, chaotic and organized, planned and spontaneous, contradictory, like everything else about them. We arrived at a small house in a residential area. Before the car had fully stopped, a small human child came running out, moving with that reckless speed only young ones possess. "Uncle Jake. Uncle Emma." Tommy's voice was high and excited. "You came. You really came." Jake was out of the car before I could stop him, dropping to one knee to catch the child in a hug. I watched his vitals on my portable scanner. Elevated heart rate. Increased endorphin production, but stable. He was stable. "Told you I would be here, champ," Jake said, his voice thick with emotion. "I never break a promise." "Never." Tommy pulled back, looking up at Jake with wide brown eyes. "Mommy said you always keep your promises." She was right. "Yeah, buddy. She was right about a lot of things." Emma joined the hug, and I watched the three of them hold each other like they could fight off the universe itself through sheer force of love. Maybe they could. Humans seemed capable of impossible things when properly motivated. The party was loud and chaotic and wonderful. 20 small humans running around, playing games I did not understand, eating cake and ice cream that Emma assured me was safe for human consumption despite looking like toxic waste. Thorpe mingled awkwardly, answering questions about space and aliens with patience I did not know he possessed. I stayed close to Jake, monitoring him constantly. He played with the children. He laughed with the adults. He helped Tommy open his presents, and when the boy saw the remote-control spaceship, his face lit up like a star going nova. "This is the best present ever," Tommy shouted. "Can we fly it now?" "Absolutely," Jake said. "Let me show you how." And he did. For the next hour, Jake Rennick, who had been dying less than a week ago, who by all logic should still be in a hospital bed, taught his nephew how to pilot a toy spaceship in the backyard. His movements were careful, his breathing controlled. But he was there, present, alive. "He is going to be okay, is he not?" Emma asked, appearing beside me. I looked at my scanner, at Jake's readings, at the sheer stubborn vitality radiating from him. "Yes, he is going to be fine. Better than fine. Your species is absolutely insane, but he is going to be fine." Thank you, Emma said simply. For understanding, or for helping, for being willing to break the rules. Sometimes the rules need breaking, I admitted. Sometimes the right treatment is not medicine. It is purpose. It is love. It is a promise kept. As the party wound down, as the sky darkened and Earth's single moon rose overhead, Tommy ran up to Jake one more time. Uncle Jake, he said seriously, will you be here for my 8th birthday too? Jake knelt down, taking the boy's hands in his. I will be here for all of them, buddy. Every single one. That is a promise. Like you promised Mommy? Exactly like that. Promises are the most important thing we have. They are how we show people we love them. Tommy nodded solemnly, then hugged Jake one more time before running back to help his grandmother clean up. Later, as we prepared to leave, Jake pulled me aside. Doc, I know I have been a terrible patient. I know I ignored your orders and pushed too hard and probably gave you gray hairs. If Velkari get gray hairs. I am not sure about your biology. We do not get gray hairs. Our faceplates just crack. Right. Well, sorry about your faceplates. But I want you to know something. You gave me more than medical treatment. You gave me a chance to keep a promise, to be there for someone who needed me. And that is worth more than any medicine in the galaxy. I looked at this human. This impossible, stubborn, beautiful human. You did not need sedation, Jake Rennick. You needed a reason. And you had one all along. Yeah, he said softly. Yeah, I did. We left Earth the next morning. Jake was finally willing to rest, his promise fulfilled, his purpose achieved. The flight back to the station was quiet and peaceful. Jake slept most of the way, his body finally allowing itself to recover now that the mission was complete. When we docked at Medical Station 7, I filed my report. Expected a reprimand, maybe suspension. Instead, I got a message from the medical board. Dr. Vren, your unorthodox treatment approach has been noted. While we cannot officially condone breaking quarantine protocols and transport restrictions, we acknowledge that the patient made a full recovery under your care. In light of this outcome, we are issuing a formal commendation for innovative medical thinking. Well done. I stared at the message. Thorpe looked over my shoulder and laughed. They commended you for letting a patient go to a birthday party. Apparently, results matter more than methods. Only when it works. If he had crashed, we would be facing disciplinary action. Good thing he did not crash then. Jake was discharged 2 days later, fully healed, ready to return to work. Though Emma made him promise to find a safer job, he agreed. I did not believe him for a second. As he was leaving, he stopped at my office door. Hey, Doc, next time I am in the sector, I am buying you that burger. You never got one at the station. You are assuming there will be a next time. With my luck? Definitely. He grinned. But maybe next time it will be something boring, like a sprained ankle. Low stakes, easy treatment. Nah. Somehow, I doubt it. Yeah, me too. See you around, Doc. And thanks, Brain, for everything. He left. My office felt strangely quiet without his constant chatter. Kella appeared in the doorway, holding a datapad. We have another incoming trauma, she said. Species classification, human. Massive burns. ETA, 20 minutes. I sighed. Of course we do. What happened? Engine explosion on a cargo hauler. The human apparently went back into the burning ship to save 2 crew members. Succeeded. Then collapsed. Let me guess. Still conscious? Still conscious. And asking about the crew he saved. I stood up, grabbing my scanner and medical kit. Prep Trauma Suite 3. Call Thorpe and get me every sedative we have in stock. Think it will work? No. But we have to try. As I walked to the emergency bay, I found myself almost smiling. Humans. Impossible, illogical, beautiful humans. They did not need sedation. They did not need medication. They needed purpose. They needed promises. They needed reasons to survive, and once they had those reasons, nothing in the universe could stop them. The emergency bay doors hissed open. I still hated that sound, but maybe, just maybe, I was starting to hate it a little less. After all, it meant another human needed help, or another impossible survival story, another chance to witness the sheer stubborn will of a species that refused to quit. And honestly, what better job could a doctor ask for? I stepped through the doors, ready for whatever came next. Because with humans, there was always a next, always another story, always another promise to keep. And I was honored to be part of it.